All right. I will be calling the meeting to order now. We're going to go ahead and start 1.0 opening, 1.1 call to order, 1.2 pledge of allegiance. Thank you so much, Ms. Abanese. 1.3 approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Dr. Wyatt.
Ms. Cunningham, I made a mistake on mine. My vote's yea. Sorry about that.
Motion passed. And we're going to, actually, I'm going to go ahead and we have a special presentation. I will turn it over to our communications director, Ms. Mary Roan Goodwin.
Thank you, President Ceballos. Good evening. My name is Mary Roan Goodwin, and I am proud to serve as the Director of Communications and Community Relations. Before I start tonight's special presentation, I'd like to invite our board members and Superintendent Mauricio Arellano to please make their way to the front of the dais. Cabinet members, if you would join here at the ramp. Tonight, we have the great privilege of recognizing an outstanding educator who has been named a California League of Educators High School Teacher of the Year finalist. Please help me welcome Mr. Shola Oyinsan from Middle College High School. Mr. Oyinsan is a demonstration teacher in mathematics, and he's also a program specialist. He is known for his ability to connect with students, inspire curiosity, and foster a love of learning. He goes above and beyond to ensure that every student feels seen, heard, and supported in their journey towards success. His recognition as a finalist for this prestigious award is a testament to his unwavering dedication to education and the lives he touches daily. This honor not only highlights his incredible work, but also shines a light on the excellence within the San Bernardino City Unified School District. Mr. Oyinsan, on behalf of the Board of Education, our superintendent, and the entire SBCUSD community, we congratulate you on this very well-deserved recognition. So much at this time. This concludes this portion of our special recognitions this evening. Congratulations, Mr. Oriensen.
All right, congratulations once again. Moving on to 2.0 special presentations and recognitions, 2.1 resolution in recognition of Cesar Chavez Day. And I'm going to go ahead and ask Ms. Medina if she can go ahead and read that for us, please.
Yes, thank you so much. Cesar Chavez, a Mexican-American labor leader in California, was a heroic figure in the 20th century who led a movement dedicated to improving the lives of farm workers. And whereas the National Farm Workers Association, today known as the United Farm Workers of America Labor Union, was co-founded by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. And whereas Chavez briefly served in the United States Navy and was honorably discharged in 1948, and whereas in 1994, President Bill Clinton posthumously awarded Chavez the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And whereas in 2014, President Barack Obama proclaimed Cesar Chavez Day as a federal commemorative holiday, and whereas the Board of Education recognizes the contributions made by Cesar E. Chavez and named a middle school in honor of this great man. Therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education of San Bernardino Unified School District here recognizes the many contributions and accomplishments of Cesar E. Chavez and encourages all district schools to conduct appropriate activities in observance of his birthday on March 31st. So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Ms. Medina and second by Mr. Tillman. Vote, please. Ms. Albanese?
Aye.
Ms. Eden Ochoa?
Aye.
Mr. Tillman? Motion passed. 2.2 resolution in recognition of School Library Month, National School Librarian Day. Mr. Tillman?
Thank you very much, Madam President. Whereas School Library Month is recognized annually every April by the American Association of School Librarians, and whereas school libraries provide materials to meet individual needs and varied interests, abilities, and maturity levels of the students served, and whereas school libraries are integral to the instructional program of schools and provide books to encourage children to read for both pleasure and knowledge, and whereas annually on April the 4th, National School Librarian Day recognizes the professionals who are dedicated to creating and maintaining an environment where students feel welcome and have the print and digital resources to learn every day of the year. And whereas April 6th through April 12th, 2025 is National Library Week in honor of both school and community libraries, which are essential to providing literacy, equality by making sure that regardless of socioeconomic status, everyone has access to reading material. And whereas April 8th is National Library Workers Day in honor of the staff who support libraries and librarians, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District does hereby proclaim April 2025 as School Library Month, April 4th as National School Librarian Day, the week of April 6th as National Library Week, and April 8th as National Library Workers Day, and calls upon school staff and students to participate throughout the month of April in the celebration of our libraries and the love of reading. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Ms. Medina. Vote, please. Ms. Albanese?
Aye.
Ms. Eden Ochoa?
Aye.
Thank you.
Just a a matter of technicality, love is spelled wrong, or joy. Oh, that's joy of leading. I thought.
Ms. Rosales Medina?
I don't see it. Aye.
Motion carries. 2.3, resolution in recognition of National Bilingual Multilingual Learn Advocacy Month. Ms. Grande?
Whereas the U.S. House of Representatives first recognized National Bilingual/Multilingual Learner Advocacy Month in April 2016 to encourage policies and practices such as dual language instructional programs, and whereas the San Bernardino City Unified School District promotes bilingualism through its dual immersion program, which provides opportunities for native English speakers to become fluent in Spanish and native Spanish speakers to become fluent in English. And whereas the district's dual immersion program has become both popular enough and successful enough to offer it at 21 elementary schools, Pacuma K-8 School, Arrowview Middle School, and San Bernardino High School. And whereas SBCUSD also offers a trilingual immersion program at Belvedere Elementary School for students interested in becoming fluent in English and Spanish, as well as learning some Vietnamese. And whereas 589 SBCUSD students were recognized in 2024 with the California Seal of Biliteracy, which recognizes students who are both bilingual and biliterate. And whereas the U.S. Department of Education lists many benefits for individuals who are bilingual, including improvements in understanding math concepts and using logic. Therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District joins others around the state and the nation in recognizing April as National Bilingual/Multilingual Learner Advocacy Month, and directs district teachers to promote activities that encourage all students to learn a second or third language.
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Ms. Medina. Vote, please. Ms. Abanez?
Aye.
Ms. Eden Ochoa?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to 3.0 public comments. 3.1 receive public comments. This is the only time the public will have an opportunity to address the board on items not on the agenda and within their subject matter jurisdiction, such as district policies, procedures, programs, services, or fiscal matters. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. 6 or more people who wish to speak on one topic will be provided no more than 30 minutes total. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because these comments are made at a public meeting. And up first, we have Mr. Arthur Congo.
There we go. Good evening, Superintendent and board members. My name is Arthur Congo. I'm the Director of Local Advocacy of Southern California with the California Charter Schools Association. Just here to provide you with an update regarding Woodward Leadership Academy's track designation by the California Department of Education. On March 14th, the CDE notified Woodward that it had been newly designated as a middle performing school. This change reflects the integration of the most recent testing data into the California State Dashboard. As you're aware, Woodward is currently undergoing the renewal review process with the charter office staff. However, when the renewal petition was originally submitted, Woodward was then classified as a low-performing school. Given this update designation and the ongoing review process, we hope that Woodward and the charter office staff can collaborate to ensure a fair and up-to-date evaluation of all available information. Woodward's middle category status is based on their eligibility for the low or high categories. Under Ed Code, a school must have a performance level on at least 2 academic indicators for at least 2 subgroups to qualify as either low or high performing. In 2024, Woodward only had 1 student subgroup, socioeconomically disadvantaged, with at least 2 measurements of academic data performance, making it ineligible for either the low or high categories, thus the middle designation. Under the new track determination, middle performing schools are eligible for a 5-year renewal term and under the default renewal standard. While submitting verified data is optional for middle performing schools, any of that submitted data must be considered in the renewal decision. Lastly, renewal is presumed unless all 3 of the following findings are made. 1, that the school has failed to meet or make sufficient progress towards student achievement goals. 2, closing the school is in the best interest of the students. 3, the decision to deny renewal is primarily based on academic performance measures such as ELA, math, college career readiness, or English learner progress. I've shared this information with you all earlier today. This is all very new information. Charter staff has been very responsive already, and Woodward is already working with the charter staff, just bringing this to you all as a point of information. Here's a resource if you all need. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Ms. Tina Lopez.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tina Lopez, and I'm here regarding my granddaughter, Allison Sanchez. She's going up for expulsion. And I just have a couple things to complain about Serrano Middle School. This was an ongoing fight with 5 girls. And I asked Ms. Stevenson, the principal there, to meet with the girls' parents, and she wouldn't give me that. She said they didn't do it. Anyways, the girls ended up fighting. And because she didn't do her job, the girl was allowed to go back to school the next day, and that's when this big fight happened. Allison is being charged from the girls' parents, I guess. And Mr. Curtis, your guys' gym teacher, I think it was, choked Allison during that fight, trying to hold her, and he held her aggressively all the way to the office. While she was in the office, Miss Freeman yelled in her face that she didn't belong in the school and nobody wanted her there, which I felt was really rude. And during Allison's time at Serrano School, there was a counselor, Miss Reese, that will follow Allison around the school and ask her why she had her hair up, follow her to the car, record her, and tell her to mind her own business. I'm kind of confused regarding this meeting because I thought I was going to say all this in private. During this time that Allison has been home, she's had 2 anxiety attacks. You guys have had her off school for 5 weeks already. I feel that that's a long time to be off school. And I kind of said everything about the 4 people. I just feel that Miss Stevens should have did more with the 2 months that she's had these girls going back and forth fighting, and she didn't do much. And a big fight exploded, and now Allison's being suspended, now expelled, and being charged with this, and having anxiety attacks for this. She needs to get back to school as soon as possible. I don't know if this was what you guys were hearing. I didn't know what I was coming into, but thank you for hearing me. That's all.
Thank you. So up next, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much, honorable school board members. It's been an honor to be here tonight, and I just wanted to thank you publicly for the honor of being a part of Vision 2030. I think that's a tremendous effort for the future of not only the school board, education, but also the city of San Bernardino. I'm a proud graduate of San Bernardino High School, a Cardinal, 1961. And I have that in common with Mauricio and Tim Prince, and I received an award last Friday at the Democratic Lynching Club, and I want to thank you for that honor very much. Thank you so much. I wanted to also indicate that I am the new chairperson for the Arts and Historical Preservation Commission, here in the city of San Bernardino. And we're working in cooperation with the park and park department to beautify the city of San Bernardino. And I wanted to take my hat off and thank the presentation that my Democratic Luncheon Club received from your people here in the school district for all you're doing with the schools. And you deserve a round of applause for that. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And it's because of the leadership of Mauricio and the school board members that we're moving the city forward. The guiding light of the city of San Bernardino is a school district. I tell that to everybody that I see because of the greatest superintendent we've ever had since I've moved here 80 years ago. But I've never seen a superintendent with the vision that this gentleman has and the cooperation that all of you have at your board meetings. You're all on the same page, working to make the school district better and working with Mayor Trand and their city council people to move the city forward, to resolve the opportunities and challenges that we have. It's all going to be coming together because of the leadership that we have here at the school district. And I just wanted to publicly thank you very much for all that you do for the city of San Bernardino. Many of you I know personally, Sandra and Scott and Mary Ellen, of course, and Mauricio and Danny, and longtime friends. And I just wanted to thank you so much publicly for being part of a winning team. And that's why I have this on. I don't know if you know that the Dodgers won. They had to play at 3 o'clock this morning on TV. I found out because my wife watched it on her phone, and when I woke up this morning, she says, the Dodgers won 4-1. So everybody knows that they won their first game, and you're winning games every day in the city of San Bernardino. I want to thank my hat off for all your hard work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith, and congratulations on your award. Up next, we have Mr. Nathaniel Morlock.
Hi, I'm not Nathaniel. My name's Mr. Bashirs. Mr. Morlock is also a teacher at Salinas Elementary. And we wanted to begin a conversation just to introduce the idea of a group that goes kind of silent. That's men in education, specifically fathers, young boys, mentors, and males that work in the profession. So, we understand that you are very busy, and because there's so many fires to put out on a daily basis, and because there's so much to think about and how the world's changing, we often put the urgent in front of the important. So we're here to begin the process of having us just begin the idea of thinking and asking the right questions about what can we do to increase fatherhood, support fathers, bring fathers into the classroom. I'll let Nathaniel talk a little bit about some of the statistics. And if you are unaware of the statistics, they are profound across the board with men. And the trend is getting worse over time.
Hello. So one of the things that's been the most jarring to learn is that with fewer and fewer men involved in education, the number of male teachers, especially in education at the elementary level, has decreased drastically. Since 1987, it was 30%. It's now down to just about 1 in 5 teachers. And in elementary school, it's down to almost 1 in 10 teachers is male. Additionally, there's an overrepresentation of boys in the special education programs and an underrepresentation of boys and men enrolling in college. So of students of this most recent 2024 school year, there were 5 times fewer male enrollees in college as female enrollees. So that also means that fewer graduations have happened, with only 47% of women aged 25 to 34 having a bachelor's degree, and fewer, with 37% of men having the same degree. Additionally, when students actually do enroll in college, only 3 in 5 men will graduate, whereas 2 in 3 females will graduate. So all of these things contribute to a rise in mental health issues and struggles, and because men are more silent about them, they are drastically underreported. Currently, the risk of suicide for men and boys is 4 times higher than that of girls, and that's just, again, with those that are reporting.
I'm a little bit on the older side, so my dad comes from a very kind of traditional background, and for those of us who are a little bit older or have fathers that are older, we know that men have embraced suffering in silence. And I get it. You know, you come back from war, you have a difficult job, you don't want to bring that to your home. But it's really destroying men. We can begin to solve the suffering part if we begin to solve the silence part. So locally, we have been meeting with some of our fathers, and it's quite interesting. They really want to participate, and just meeting with dads, talking about dads, right? Just dad stuff. And some of the fathers are very forthcoming. They're talkative. Some of the fathers are just completely silent until they kind of feel that trust, and then it breaks, and then they start sharing. And then we share how we didn't quite get along with our fathers, or maybe we had a surrogate father. And this is the conversation that needs to happen. We'll continue to do that, and as we do that, we'll expand in the direction we need to, and we'll come back and report when we can. But we need to really think about what diversity means. Diversity is really diversity of character, diversity of thought, right? We're talking about half the population. When you have a kindergartner go to a classroom and less than 2% of the kindergarten teachers are male, what does that say about how kindergartners feel about what role men play in education? These are the questions we should be asking. If I may allow some suggestions, I would begin with listening. If we jump to a solution, we're only going to fail. That's what's been happening. To truly listen. Men communicate in a different way. Men of different generations communicate in a different way. Younger men are more open to mental health issues or discussing them. Older men are less likely. There's a lot of trauma being carried. So truly listening. Being able to hold a conversation where you can hear what the other person's saying. Asking the right questions. The second thing is we truly need to change what open-mindedness means. I don't know what the solution is, but I know it's going to be something that's vastly different than what we have been doing for generations. And when that happens, it's going to be uncomfortable. We're going to disagree. We're going to have debates. But that's where real learning lies. And if you're an educator, you know that. So again, men have this tendency to suffer in silence. This is our opportunity to support fathers, to support men in education, to support our boys, and in turn, we support everyone in the community. But it begins with eliminating the silence. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And we have a question from one of our board members, Ms. Grande.
Thank you for that. I believe at one time or another, everyone up here has heard something about some kind of program to bring more males into the profession of teaching. And I'm just wondering if you're familiar with the Project Impact program that's presently going on at the James and Judy Rodriguez Watson College of Education up at Cal State San Bernardino. They started that, you can look on their website, and they're very, very much involved in the issue which you just said right now, and they even have data that they've collected quite a bit on that. And they come at it with men of color, but the truth is it's open to all males. That's because they've kept the data on that because it's so tiny, the number. So, but it's all males are welcome. I think I've spoken about that to I think some young men that I know, but they have so many other things going on. But, and also I know that they are, I don't know where we are, per se are with them, but I know Rialto Unified School District started their Grow Your Own program with them too. And I know we do have some kind of grow our own. I'm not sure if they're affiliated with Cal State at this time. Does anyone know? No? I can find out, but why don't
Yes.
you go ahead and do that? We are?
Ms. Sabilas Grande, yes, we partnered with Cal State San Bernardino,
Uh-huh.
and we're in the beginning stages of our first cohort of males to not only help them come into the profession, but to hire them on and retain them, right? So I'd be happy to sit down with you gentlemen,
There you go.
talk about that and get your ideas.
There you go.
Sir, Mr. Bashir.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your.
One more comment or question. Ms. Medina?
I just want to piggyback on that this was actually something that I know that we've had conversations on, is looking at the disparity amongst gender. And so I'm glad the perfect timing that you just came in on board to make this public comment, because it is something that we are actually looking at. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your comment. Just for the record, I had both Mr. Morlock and Bashir's, so they're both there. So moving on. Next up, we have Miss. I have a name of Ande or Andi Siegel. How do you pronounce your name?
Andy.
Okay, Andy. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. If what I'm about to say is redundant to today's agenda, please let me know. I'm here today because I learned recently that the suspension rate for Black students in this school district is more than twice the rate of suspension for students statewide. The rate of suspension for Black students here is 16 for every 100 students. The statewide is 6 for every 100. I find this incredibly alarming because it indicates to me that either this school district does not have any anti-racist policies or practices put in place, or if there are, that they're not working. And I think anti-Blackness in this school district should be everybody's concern, because it does not foster a safe learning environment. If we can't protect them from adultification, from criminalization, from dehumanization, these are all things that should matter, you know? I didn't know we had so much time to speak, so I thought it'd be good to incorporate some studies done on anti-Blackness in children. In 2014, Professor Philip Goff and colleagues published an experimental study called The Essence of Innocence: Consequences of Dehumanizing Black Children. The findings of the study were that Black boys are seen as older and less innocent, and that they prompt a less essential conception of childhood than do their white, same-age peers. In 2017, a groundbreaking US study titled Girlhood Interrupted: The Erasure of Black Girls' Childhood was published by the Georgetown Law Center on Poverty and Inequality. With regard to the treatment of Black girls in the education system, the study suggests that the perception of Black girls as less innocent may contribute to harsher punishment by educators and school resource officers. Furthermore, the view that Black girls need less nurturing, protection, and support and are more independent may translate into fewer leadership and mentorship opportunities in schools. So with that, I would like to know, what are the ways that this school district is going to implement anti-racist policies and practices to protect Black children from anti-Blackness, from criminalization, from because clearly there's a racial disparity in suspension rates. And if there is actions being taken, how are we following through on that? How are we staying accountable to that? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to go ahead and, because I know that we are doing a lot of things in our district, and I'm not sure if you're a member in our community or not, but I would like to turn it over to our superintendent to be able to share a little bit more about what we are doing here in San Bernardino.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up those very important points. And they are a big focus of our multi-year vision. And I'm happy to take your name and number, and we can set up an appointment, and I'll go through everything that we're focused on, beginning from our TIP policy to all the strategies we have in place. We are not happy where our data is, but we are focused on lowering that data. I'll share with you also the relationships we have out with the community. So leave your name and number. I'll happy to spend as much time with you and give you all the information that you need so that you know that it's a big focus and we're heading the right direction. So thank you for being here today.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Jenny Peterson.
Okay, can you hear me? So this is one of my biggest fears, is getting up here and talking. So I hate public speaking. So it takes a lot for me to do it. So please know I came with courage and a determination in my heart so that you hear what we're saying. As I just sit here tonight, I came up here a few years ago with the old superintendent, and I gave him a hard time. He walked on my campus, he called it filthy. He didn't bother to acknowledge the fact that there was only 2 people working that day. And we were working our butts off to make sure that campus looked good. Now we get the support of grounds. We work overtime, you know, but that's at the risk of our health, our emotional welfare. I've asked that we work on the management issue. We need more custodians. I cannot say it enough. We need more workers. You are asking a lot of us. We were told last summer to do floors before we did top to bottom. So my question to you guys is, y'all water your lawn before you mow it? No, nobody does that. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Why would we do that? Then we get the EXL programs now. They're on our campus during spring break. They're on our campus during summer break. Extended hours. We're made to separate as teams. How am I supposed to build my team up as the custodian 3? How am I supposed to create a group of people that are supposed to work together and understand if I'm not there? That doesn't make any sense. EXL comes on, and sometimes, and not all of them, but we've had a few rude run-ins with them. In fact, last Thursday, we hosted the middle school basketball playoffs. One of them took a picture of my CSOs, and next thing we know, there's a phone call coming down from Donahue to the CSOs telling them to take their beanies off. It was 42 degrees, raining and hail that day. I need to know my managers support us and that you guys are here listening to what we're saying. You know, raises, I don't care. At this point, I just want unity. This used to feel like a family district, and it is getting back there. I'm not saying it's not, but it's really, really far off. So I appreciate all of you, and I thank you for listening. Superintendent Arellano, anytime you want to reach out to me, I am glad to meet with you and discuss further things. There's lots of good ideas out there. You have lots of good workers with plenty of ideas. And no, they're not your management, they're not your supervisors, but you know, there's good ideas. They put out really good forethought, and they do love working here. They're not just here to collect a paycheck. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Mr. Arellano?
Thank you for being here, and I'm sorry you had that experience with previous leadership. You know, I try to be out there and tell everybody how much I appreciate the hard work that you're doing. The schools look fabulous, and we are listening, and I would love to sit down. You know, I meet often with many of your colleagues who make appointments. When they ask for an appointment, I'm there, because we certainly are humble enough to know that we're not the expert at everything. And we know that the district has grown with opportunities for students beyond the school day. So at some point, we're working on things, but we're not to that sweet spot yet, but we're willing to get there. So thank you for being courageous, for being here today. And I want you to know, you guys are doing a great job. Schools look fabulous.
We do work hard, sir.
Thank you so much for coming out. And that was all for public comments. We're going to go ahead and move to 4.0 public hearing. And I believe this is an item that we needed to have pulled at the beginning.
You did, and I apologize.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pull that item. Do we need to do anything? Nope. Okay, so moving on to 5.0 closed session. 5.1 closed session public comments. Do we have any?
No, we don't.
All right, so 5.2 closed session agenda. Adjournment, sorry. All right. Coming back, we are at 6.0 action report from closed session. 6.1 approval of elementary school principal. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the appointment of the following employee. Colleen Maroney.
Yeah, this is
Did
Maroney.
What is it?
Maroney.
Maroney, thank you. Elementary school principal, school site, effective date, work year, and salary to be determined. Can I get a motion for that?
Move.
Second. Thank you. Moved by Dr. Wyatt, second by Ms. Medina. Voting, please. Motion carries.
Board, I have the honor of introducing to you tonight Mrs. Colleen Maroney. Mrs. Maroney is an accomplished educator with over 25 years of educational experience here in the San Bernardino City Unified School District. Started out as a classified employee, instructional aide, instructional assistant, then promoted to teacher, a program facilitator, and is currently the vice principal at Kendall Elementary School. Well loved by both staff, parents, community, students, has a trauma-informed background, and has a very warm presence. She's committed to positively impacting all of our partners at our school sites. Board, I introduce to you Mrs. Colleen Maroney.
Good evening, President Ceballos, Vice President Aviles Grande, Superintendent Arellano, esteemed board members and cabinet members. I am deeply honored and grateful for this opportunity to serve as the principal of North Park Elementary. Thank you for your trust and confidence in me. My journey has been one of growth, learning, and unwavering purpose. And I stand here today knowing that it is by the grace of God that I have been led to this moment. His guidance has shaped my heart for leadership, my passion for students, and my commitment to excellence in education. I look forward to working alongside our dedicated educators, staff, and families at North Park Elementary to cultivate a culture of excellence, belonging, and innovation. Together, we will continue to build a school where every student thrives. So again, I say thank you for this incredible opportunity. And good evening.
Thank you so much, and congratulations. 6.2, approval of revised job description, benefits manager.
So move.
Second.
Oh, that's the one I pulled? Sorry. No action for that one. Okay, 6.3. Be it resolved, the Board of Education approves settlement agreement JE 24-25-01 in the amount of $55,830 plus reasonable attorney fees. Board of Education authorizes the purchasing director to sign all related documents. Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Dr. Wyatt. Vote, please. Motion passed. 6.4, expulsion of students. Be it resolved, the Board of Education accepts and adopts the recommendation and findings of the hearing panel based on a review of the panel's findings of facts and recommendations, and orders the expulsion of the following students with the identification numbers as listed below in accordance with the board rules and regulations and in compliance with Education Code Section 48900.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Dr. Wyatt. Vote, please. Motion passes. 6.5, students recommended for expulsion, excluding mandatory offenses, but remanded to youth court for other means of correction. Be it resolved, the Board of Education accepts and adopts the recommendations and findings of facts of positive youth development and orders the suspension of or expulsion of the following students with the identification numbers as listed below in accordance with board rules and regulations and in compliance with Education Code Section 48900.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Dr. Wyatt. Motion passes. 6.6, lift readmitted of expulsion of students. Be it resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the readmission of the following students with the identification numbers as indicated below to schools of the San Bernardino City Unified School District and in accordance with the board rules and regulations and in compliance with Education Code Section 48900.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Medina, second by Mr. Tillman.
Mr. Tillman? Ms. Rosales Medina?
It just popped up.
Okay.
Motion passed. 6.7, revocation of suspension of expulsion. This order revokes a previously suspended expulsion order and is recommended at this time because the student violated the conditions of the suspension of the expulsion order. Therefore, in accordance with Education Code Section 48917, be it resolved, the Board of Education does hereby order the expulsion of the student with identification number as listed below.
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Ms. Medina. Vote, please. Motion passed. 6.8, other closed session action. There is none at this time. 7.0, student board members. 7.1, reports and comments by student board members. I will go ahead and start with Ms. Abanese.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Patience Abanese, and I'm representing Middle College High School. I want to express my gratitude to all the AVID teachers at Middle College High School for providing so much support inside and outside the classroom with college preparation. At Middle College High School, we recently held an alumni panel organized by our senior AVID teacher. She also organized the career fair where we had 25 vendors ranging from the fire department to Blue Foundation and even the University of California, Irvine. Thank you, Ms. Jefferson, for all your efforts. Tomorrow at Indian Springs, they are hosting their Welcome to the Pack, which allows incoming freshmen to learn more about the campus and the programs offered. At Arroyo Valley, Concert Master Kennedy was accepted and awarded a music talent scholarship to the University of Redlands. At SAC, we focused on motivation and how to apply it to leadership. To conclude, I hope all my fellow students are excited for their spring break. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Abanese. Ms. Eden Ochoa.
Hello, I'm Tatiana Eden Ochoa representing Cajon High School. And the year has been filled to the brim with excitement. And even though we're nearing the end, it is truly not the end of all the greatness to come in our district that is currently happening. San Bernardino High School recently had their dual immersion banquet. And we also recently had the Latino History Beat and celebrating the strong heritage in our district, where Cajon had two of their winners, which was Genesis P as well as Logan P, which were first and second place. And they did a wonderful job representing Cajon. As well as our track and field team had another incredible weekend at the California Relays. And a huge congratulations to Keith C and Aiden R for setting new records in their events. Keith soared in the triple jump with a huge leap, breaking the school record by nearly 2 feet and earning the number 2 spot in the state. Meanwhile, Aiden absolutely crushed running at and ranking as the number 7 sophomore in California. We had several incredible, outstanding performances, as well with Andrea R in the 4x200, as well as the 4x400. And all these individuals just did wonderful at this. A lot of Cajon success, so I'm just going to list their names. Kaylin D, Lewis M, Evan P, Zion W. And they just did wonderful, and we will see how they will do at this Beaumont tomorrow. So, as well as California State Speech Association, Cajon had 10 state qualifiers from this past Saturday and Sunday, meaning that we're sending 10 people to the tournament in Culver City, my apologies. And college decisions are out for all are coming out for all seniors, so it's been a very hectic time overall. And I just want to say, not only do I wish you luck for the rest of your decisions, but I hope the best for everywhere that you have been where you're deciding to go to, or you have been selected to go to so far, because things truly do work out, and I truly believe that. And I would also like to congratulate the valedictorians and salutatorians that have been selected in our district. And I would like to give a special congrats to Patience Abanese, who is actually a valedictorian for her school, as well as Fernanda Gallardo, which is our other student board member, who are both valedictorians for Middle College as well as Arroyo High School. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yes, congratulations to them. 8.0, administrative reports and presentations. 8.1, administrative report, annual audited financial report for fiscal year 23-24.
Well, good evening, President Ceballos and Vice President Grande, esteemed board members, and Superintendent Arellano, Executive Cabinet. Tonight we have a presentation from Mr. Bobby Patel, our Eide Bailly accountant, who reviews our unaudited actuals, and he is here to report the 23-24 findings. Mr. Patel?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. So as Terry mentioned,
There's a button if you can press.
Can you hear me?
I think a little better. Thank you.
So as Terry mentioned, I'll be going over the audit report. Before I get started, I usually like to define what an audit is. It's a process designed to provide a reasonable assurance whether the financial statements are free of material misstatements. And the way we get there, it's through a risk assessment approach, reviewing the district's internal controls and understanding them through interviews and documenting those controls, and ultimately performing sample testing on those transactions, with the ultimate goal of audit being is to provide an auditor's opinion, and the highest level of assurance we provide, it's called an unmodified opinion. That being said, the first page I want to draw your attention to, it's print page 129 or PDF page 137. This is the summary of auditors results page. This has the 3 opinions we provide on the financial statements, the federal compliance, and the state compliance. On the financial statements, the district earned an unmodified opinion. As I mentioned, that's the highest level of assurance we provide. There was a material weakness identified. The finding details are outlined in the subsequent pages. There were no significant deficiencies identified. And the next opinion covered here, it's over the federal awards. The district earned an unmodified opinion apart from ESSER program, which was qualified. There were 2 major programs that were tested. There was a material weakness identified with no significant deficiencies noted. And on the state awards, again, the district earned an unmodified opinion with no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies identified. The next page I want to draw your attention to, it's print page 94 or PDF page 99. This is the schedule of financial trends page. The reason why I like this page is it's the only page in the audit report where you'll see the history of the general fund. That's the operating fund of the district. It shows the prior 3 years history and also the adopted budget for the future year. What this page tells us is the district had an operating surplus in the past 3 years. However, a deficit is projected for 24-25 fiscal year.
What page are you on?
Page 94, print page 94, or PDF scroll page 99. So this page tells us that there was a surplus for the 3 years and a deficit for the following year. That deficit we're seeing that trend pretty much at majority of our clients. It's because all of those one-time monies that districts received for COVID are pretty much exhausted by now. So that's why there's a deficit that's building up. Overall, the ADA has declined over the past 3 years, and long-term debts have been increasing over the 3 years. The long-term debt that are increasing, they're related to like general obligation bond, the OPEB liability, pension liability. These are nothing that's due next year. It's really just pay-as-you-go debt. That being said, I'm open to any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? I think we're okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have 8.2 second period interim financial report as of January 31st, 2025. And Mr. Komnick is making his way down along with his team.
Good evening, President Ceballos and Vice President Grande, esteemed board members, Superintendent Ariano, Executive Cabinet, and community. I'm Terry Komnick with Business Services. I have Ms. Trias Huey, my Director of Fiscal Services, and O.C. Coonrod, our Assistant Director of Fiscal Services, here this evening to present to the board our second interim update. Next slide. Our objectives tonight are threefold. We're going to look at the state budget and fiscal outlook. We'll also talk about updated budget and multi-year projections with reserves and our considerations and our next steps. Next slide. Budget certification. This is our second interim report. This is the second official revision to our adopted budget back in June when the board first adopted the 24-25 budget. This includes all revenue and expenditures from July 1 of 2024 through January 31st of 2025. The district must certify its financial condition at each interim report, and I am pleased to tell the board that we have a positive certification. Next slide, please. Our fiscal outlook and state budget. Next slide. Just wanted to share with the board in January, the governor's 25-26 agenda for the proposed budget was released, and we attended a school services workshop. And these are the highlights that I wanted to share with the board. as we start to consider the development of our 25-26 budget. They announced a 2.43% COLA. They discussed the possibility of restoration of our Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant by $378 million. The board might remember a few years ago that that was trimmed by about 8.5% or close to 8% and reduced. And now the governor is making attempts to engage that that block grant for the benefit of our students. Also, $1.5 billion for our transitional kindergarten. Prop 98 funded at $118.9 billion. I believe I made a typo on the slides in front of you. I believe yours says $117.6 billion. I apologize for that. For 25-26. That will probably change, to be honest with you, when we get the May revise. That Prop 98 funding may look a little different. And also there's a one-time $1.8 billion discretionary grant the governor is proposing that might equate to approximately $325 per enrolled student.
Is the $1.5 billion for, is that transitional kindergarten?
Yes, sir, transitional
Is that
kindergarten.
ongoing?
Yes, sir.
Wow, okay.
Next slide, please. Next slide after that. Our assumptions and budgets and multi-year projections. First, I'll start with our assumptions on the basis on how we build our budgets for 24-25. I want to focus in on three of these. First, the cost of living, the COLA. You'll see that for this year it was 1.07. Again, next year is projected at 2.43 and 3.52 in the 26-27 year. Now that FAR number might find itself differently as we get closer to the May revise. We'll see how both those numbers stand up. Our enrollment, although declining, it's kind of at a less decline than we were even anticipating for this year. We are showing this year and the 2 out years as the possibility of a 1% reduction, or right around 400 students per year. The last area of assumptions I would like to point out to you is our unduplicated pupil percentage, where we have a 92.33%. We're anticipating about a 0.5% increase in the 2 out years, and that would impact our supplemental concentration LCAP funding. Next slide, please. The first multi-year projection part of the budget I'd like to share with the board is the unrestricted general fund. And here I'll just kind of walk us through from top to bottom, left to right. As you look at the beginning fund balance, we started with 119. We're still at 119.4. Our revenues did fluctuate from first interim, so I'm looking at the first 2 columns. The first interim is the report that I shared with the board in December, and we are at the second interim now. And you'll see that there was a slight tick up in revenues that came from fair market value assessment, interest, and some local revenue dollars that we captured and are now able to show in second interim. Our expenditures increased a little bit from our first interim, as it now reflects the 2% negotiated increase in salaries, as well as the associated benefits. You'll notice on line 4 are contributions. Now, contributions are those that go from the unrestricted side to the restricted side of the budget. And you'll see that in December, we were looking at $105 million, mostly consisting of 2 cost items. One is our contribution to special ed, right around $62 to $65 million. And then our routine maintenance and repair, right around $30 million. So those 2 primarily make up the contributions. You'll notice that for the second interim, it's down about $28 million, and that was captured at using one-time restricted dollars to augment our unrestricted cost items and contributions towards special ed. And I'll highlight that again on the restricted slide. As we look down into our increase-decrease to fund balance, it went from $51 million in December down to $30 million, and then it goes back up to $42 million in 25-26, primarily again catching the increase in step and column benefits ticking up just a tad. And then you'll notice a fairly substantive decline looking at 26-27 to 13 million. And I have a slide where I'll talk about the why with that, primarily looking at the district's strategic focus at cost reductions. And then the ending fund balance, you can see the adjustments there on line 7. We went from about 67.8 million up to 88.5, as that is due to that reduced contribution amount. And then the numbers start to tick down gradually, but not expeditiously towards 26-27, as that is a strategic focus area on our strategic reduction in costs. Next slide. This is the restricted side. These are the funds that come to us with, for lack of a better word, strings attached to them. We must follow these like categorical programs. You'll see that our beginning fund balance stayed status quo. Our revenues did tick up a little bit as our RDA, our redevelopment agency funds, and our Medi-Cal reimbursements were notably increased. You'll also notice that our expenditures also ticked up on line 3. That's also part of our 2% negotiated raise and some special education realignment of costs. Our contributions, you'll notice, were 105 million. Now those will match from the previous slide, and you'll see the reduction from first interim to second interim on line 4 to 77 million, and that reflects the reduced contribution from the general unrestricted dollars of about $28 million. The increase and decrease, line 6, you'll notice to fund balance, we went from 71 to 102, and then out years are 38 and 36. And again, as Mr. Patel mentioned, this is our spend down primarily of one-time funds, which is typically the normal process for our restricted dollars. And our ending fund balance also aligns with that as we decrease our ending fund balance consistent with the spend down of those one-time funds. Those one-time restricted dollars include, for the board's benefit, Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, some title carryover, some ELOP carryover funds, equity multiplier funds, and our Prop 28 funds, which support our VAPA programs. Next slide, please. Considerations and next steps. Next slide. The board has been very steadfast with the fiduciary responsibility to maintain district solvency, and I appreciate that from the board and their leadership. As we develop our 25-26 budget, we will keep in mind the governors may revise. That will be coming up shortly. Again, I mentioned our enrollment decline of approximately 1%. Our one-time funds that are sunsetting, we want to maximize and leverage those as we did this year. We also want to maximize and leverage those in the out years as well. And the district is taking a proactive approach with the budget stabilization process, as I mentioned earlier, over the next 3 years. These reductions will look at the attrition of positions, reviewing our services, our operational costs, and our effective programs. Next slide, please. Our next steps. As I've mentioned, the Governor Newsom's May revise will be in May. We will have the 25-26 LCAP and budget presentations for you on June 3rd, and then the 25-26 LCAP and budget adoption will be 2 weeks later on the June 17th board. Next slide. And that is our presentation for second interim, and thank you. We are available for questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tillman.
I'd like to commend you all on a great job. There's a lot of districts in financial trouble right now. There's a story out on EdSource about 39 districts that have financially stressed. So I just want to commend you on giving us the right direction and ensuring that we have a positive budget certification.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And thank you for the report.
And I just want to say also thank you so much. You guys don't know, but I've met with these folks twice now, and they've given me such a great guide on learning, the budget. and I've been absorbing as much as I can in the time being. But I agree with Mr. Tillman. Amazing. The times that I've met, it's just my mind, right, blows up. But thank you so much for everything that you do. And I don't see any more questions. Thank you. All right. 8.3, Board Policy 5141.33, Head Lice Presentation. And I will turn it over to Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, President Ceballos. As requested by the board, specifically Mr. Tillman, in regards to some concerns and questions regarding the new head lice policy and treatment, the staff from the Student Wellness Support Services Department has put together a presentation for you and also for the public to be well informed of the changes and why they occurred. At this time, I'd like to introduce our director, Colleen Williams, who will lead the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, cabinet members. Thank you for requesting additional information regarding the lice policy, treatment, and transmission of lice as well. The new board policy, which was approved in January of this year, is in alignment with current research. Can you hear me okay? Okay, current research. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk a little bit about where that research came from and that evidence came from. So some of those organizations are represented here. So the California Department of Public Health, our Centers for Disease Control, our American Academy of Pediatrics, as well as both of our leading school nurse organizations. They have research that spans several years now, going back as long as 2009. This new information and new research is standing strong across those multiple years. Next slide, please. Those guiding organizations that we reach out to and utilize to guide our medical work here in the district have a clear understanding that a lot of what happens is fear that is driven by misinformation, right? We all have these assumptions. Probably during this conversation, you're going to scratch your head, just because the thought about it brings that to you. But when we talk about the misinformation, when we talk about transmission is where the big component is. So lice, and I apologize, I'm going to talk very detailed here. Lice don't hop or jump, they only crawl. So when we talk about transmission of lice, we're talking about head-to-head close contact, right? That means that I and somebody else are sharing a pillow at night, perhaps. And indirect contact is really coming from, that's an interesting view, sorry, is really coming from when you share a comb or a brush or a hat, right? Lice that are found on a comb, a brush, or hat are oftentimes injured or dying, and so the transmission rate is much, much less frequent, right? And less of a concern. So when we talk about the direct contact being really head-to-head contact for multiple minutes, hours together, those type of scenarios are actually more often happening in home environments, in play dates, in sleepovers, family gatherings, much more so than in our classrooms, in our playgrounds, or in our PE locker rooms, right? In addition to that, we want to call out that lice actually is not associated with any additional like medical diagnosis. It doesn't lead to something else, right? It is its own thing. And then transmission, our leading organizations are saying school is not the place where transmission is happening so regularly.
Let me pause you real quick, Mr. Tillman.
So this is based on statistics. I'm assuming that the statistics say that it's virtually zero that lice transmission happens at school sites.
I don't know if I can give you zero. I'll have to go back and give you the statistic, okay. But they're saying because the The transmission is happening in direct head-to-head contact, right? Because lice are crawling, not hopping from place to place.
So if I'm sitting at a desk and I have long hair and I have lice, the lice won't get on the chair, and then when the next student comes in, it won't get in the other person's hair?
So lice only live within an inch of your scalp.
That's what I'm
So if I
asking.
have long hair
Okay.
and my hair's touching the chair, the lice don't live down here. They live right on my scalp. Does that help?
Yeah, it helps a lot.
And I'll go back and find a statistic for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. In terms of our previous policies and all previous policies for lice, we had some negative impacts of those to our families, right? So our students in general, we used to do classroom lice screenings, right? And you line up the kids and you screen them for lice, and then the kids who have lice, you send them over here, right? So now everybody knows that this child that was sent over here has lice. Or they magically disappear to the health office and don't come back. And so that we're causing some emotional distress, trauma to our students because they're now in the position of having less social capital, right? Because people know I'm the one that has lice. Lice is not a descriptor of a family that has a hygiene problem. And that is in the research as well. So we can be the cleanest people, the cleanest household, and still lice can affect us, right? And then our students with that emotional distress, we used to send kids home for treatment, right? And they stayed home until that treatment was done. And they came back for an additional screening. So they're missing days of school. If I can dovetail off of Terry Comnick's presentation, we're missing ADA for our students being in class, but they also have learning loss if they're at home. And depending on how quickly their families can get treatment, that could be multiple days, sometimes weeks. And then the impact for our families often is that they're having to leave work. They're staying home with students that are in treatment, and that takes a little bit of time. And then the other component about the research that's not on the slide is that oftentimes the time period of incubation for lice is over 30 days. So a student could be exposed and slept on a pillow with a cousin or whoever in an overnight, and then we actually don't see evidence of living lice or even the eggs, the nits, for 30 days. So those students are already in classes, they're already engaging with everyone else that they would have engaged with anyway, right? See, I know it's making you scratch. I apologize. So sorry. When we were updating and revising the board policy, you should have saw how many scratching heads we had. So beyond the evidence, next slide, please. Beyond the evidence around treatment and transmission, one of the things that these organizations are doing is advocating for school staff to play a role here. And the role that we play is providing those affordable treatments. And I had the opportunity to watch the last board meeting, so I appreciate that. We have treatment, shampoo and combs and all of it out at every single school through our school nurses. And that's with our partnership with Specialized Programs. They had some extra resources. And so we've deployed those to every single school here in the district. So if there is a family and a student that's diagnosed with lice, we can actually give them the treatment kit right there to take home that day. So beyond those treatment services, really educating families, just like we're doing tonight, about how lice are transmitted. And what we do to treat lice. One of the things that the organizations really asked us to do is educate families on how do you actually look for lice in your students' hair when you're doing their hair or when you're shampooing their hair, just on a regular basis as a prevention model. And then clarifying that information about lice don't jump or hop. That's the statement you're going to remember. They crawl, right? So that's how they get around. And then advocating for supportive, less exclusionary approaches. And I think that our new board policy does exactly that, where we keep kids in school, whether or not they have lice or not, because it's so few cases that are happening and transmitting at schools. We want them in school learning, right? That's our goal. Next slide, please. A few highlights of the board policy we're going to talk through in case you didn't have a chance to read word for word, and then talk through how we will screen, treat, and notify our families, and then when students can come back to school, and just a quick summary for you beyond that research. Next slide, please. In terms of the new board policy, that blue section that is probably pretty hard to read up there, really does outline what I just described to you in terms of the evidence, that we're not doing class-wide screenings. We are only doing screenings of students who we think we see lice in their hair. And those screenings are done confidentially up in the health office, right? Not done in class, not done right outside of class, but we're keeping that student's medical concerns confidential, right? Do you want me to pause?
Sure, Mr. Tillman.
On that point, because that would help with some of the people that came up with concern. So you said if someone sees lice in a student's hair, so what do they do?
So they send them up to the health office.
Who's they?
Whoever the staff member is, any staff member.
So
classroom teacher.
If a student sees lice in a student's hair sitting in front of them, they go to the teacher and say, John Doe has lice, or I see something, and then the teacher calls them aside. How does that actually work?
So if it's another student that sees it or suspects it, because there's a lot of things that live in our hair that might not actually be lice, right? But if they see something that they suspect and they would report that to the teacher would then notify the health office.
Okay.
Student would go to the health office for a screening.
Okay.
And that we're going to get to what happens if they're positive or negative.
Okay.
But that screening would then we would inform the family that we screened your child. Ideally, we would tell them every single time, right? We screened your child and they're negative for lice, or we screened your child and we see evidence of lice. We want to give you treatment options. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, that's how it actually works. If let's say an instructional assistant's working with a student and they see something, they could report it, or they could even escort the student right up to the health office instead of doing kind of the communication domino effect.
Thank you. Ms. Grande?
Well, you know what, I really understand, because at Anderson School, I worked there for 20 years, less like 2 years when I was at Roosevelt and one other school, but this would really, I don't know, would be believed, the part about, because we have people actually said they see them jumping off of one kid and that they jumped on this wheelchair, and I remember stripping the wheelchair and washing the whole thing, and it was a big deal, and half the class wouldn't come to school for a while, at least a week. So I don't know, I foresee a problem in trying to get them, first of all, to believe that it's not, going to affect their other parts of their day. I don't know, this is a hard sell. Will they be parents receive one of these? Maybe?
Parents aren't receiving this presentation. This presentation was actually developed for staff with a voiceover. So it's actually me presenting this to all the school staff with the exact information that you're receiving tonight. And then for our families, we have a pamphlet. And I think, Karen, I gave you some samples of those pamphlets. There's a pamphlet in English and Spanish to educate families on how lice is transmitted, what are the prevention models, how do you do ongoing care, and what are the other resources that we have at our staff's fingertips on supporting our families beyond the treatment shampoos, et cetera. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of screening, we talked about the fact that we're not going to do class-wide screenings. You'll screen only that suspected student in a confidential manner. And then also really redefining and supporting families and our whole community on how lice are transmitted. This has been something I have been able to dig into and understand. I do think that every time we mention the word lice, people scratch their heads, and that's just our kind of conditioning, right, around the thought of lice. And so how we re-educate and update people's understanding about lice is going to be crucial, because that idea of like hopping and jumping and all of those things. Next slide, please. We talked about the screenings, how that's going to happen, and how we're only going to do suspected cases and notify just the parents of that student. In the past, they would send a letter out to the entire class, which is probably to your point of why you had half the class show up again. They would send a letter home to the class to say, hey, we screened your class and your classmates were found to have lice. And that scares people, right? And so they don't come back to school, or you have an attendance issue the following day. And so we're not sending home letters like that. We're only sending letters home to the family of the student that it affects. Okay. Next slide, please. In terms of caregiver notification, the school nurse or the health aide would notify the caregiver and the family, provide those educational pamphlets, talk through those components, whether we're talking about prevention to treatment and to maintenance, as well as there's some additional resources there. Look at me scratching my head there talking about it. And then students go back to class. So even if we screened a student, we discover they have lice, we're sending them back to class. We're not isolating them, because remember, the transmission's not happening in the classroom. And so we want them to not be removed from their educational setting for the remainder of the day or until their parent comes to get them. We do want the parents to come pick them up so that we can give them the treatment resources as well. Next slide, please. In terms of treatment, it's fairly easy, and we share this with families too, but they wash their hair, they apply the medication, rinse it out. The kits that we have the special combs to comb out the eggs and the nits, or the eggs nits, depending on what term you use. And then you repeat it on the frequency that shampoo provides. It's not, 5 times in one sitting, but it might be, if you still see evidence in 5 days, use it again, right? And then next slide. In terms of treatment resources that we have available, I think we have a pretty good answer here. We talked about the treatment resources in terms of the shampoos and the combs, but we also have Hazel Health. That's our telemedicine program. So our telemedicine program, if the students have a consent turned in, they can see a medical provider right there on the iPad in the health office. And if they are diagnosed with lice, the medical provider will call the parent and ask them what pharmacy they use, and they'll call in a prescription for those lice resources. If our families have IEHP or Molina, those shampoo, combs, etc., are free at pickup at the pharmacy because their insurance is paying for it. And then the other option we have is we have a great partnership with IEHP. They have a navigator program, which is the navigator is an actual person that helps them navigate the insurance and the providers. They can also support our families to get connected with those treatment services as well, especially if it's a chronic case or ongoing case as well. And then as we open our clinics, which we're getting very close to doing one of our first ones for medical services at Pacific, they would also be able to see a provider right there and get those supports in the office as well. Next slide, please. And then the return to school. In the past, depending on which board policy we're talking about, students had to get like a medical release to come back to school, or they had to be screened again when they returned to school. Students are welcome back the very next day. Sometimes treatment takes a little bit of time to do, and so they will continue to attend school, and then we may triage support for families if we see treatment not happening, and we'd engage with the school nurse or our support staff, our wellness staff at the student wellness department as well. So if we have a family who it seems to be a barrier to get the treatment done, we're going to strategize and triage for them. Like, how can we help you get that done at home so that your student can come back to class kind of free of lice and free of the stigma around lice as well. And then last slide. You have a copy of these pamphlets in English and Spanish. Those were designed by part of our school nurse team with the guiding research. We have these pamphlets out at every single school. We actually also have them at different departments that tend to get contacted for lice, like Dr. Rodriguez's department or office. And some of our partner departments like family engagement, specialized programs that may need that support and education as well. And then we're hoping that, lastly, we're hoping that these inclusive practices are going to increase, obviously, our students' time at school and attendance for our students that perhaps have lice as a problem. And then really aligning the supports that we're providing to the research around how lice are transmitted and how we treat for lice as well.
So before we conclude, I do want to make note around the IEHP navigators. That service is being provided at our school sites. So we notify, the school nurse would notify the IEHP navigator. They come to the school, they meet with a parent, they meet with the child. So it's not something that they have to go outside for. It's actually a service that's being provided at the schools. And we're really appreciative of IEHP for putting that together and allowing their staff to come to our schools to service our community.
They also will go out to the households or meet the family wherever the families feel safe to meet, comfortable to meet. Could be the Starbucks on the corner, could be a McDonald's, doesn't matter. They'll meet them where parents feel safe. Questions?
Mr. Tillman?
I do think that this is going to require a lot of education because it is a big change from what has been the common practice. And even on the CDC site, it says, although not as common, head lice may spread by wearing clothing such as hats, scarves, coats, sports uniforms, or hair ribbons worn by an infested person, using infested combs, brushes, or towels, and lying on a bed, couch, pillow, carpet, or stuffed animal that has recently been in contact with an infested person. So I say that to say I really think that somehow we got to factor those facts into our policy. I mean, if there's something going on at the site where they're doing a project or the I guess one big example would be you're on the baseball team and you guys are wearing a helmet, then maybe, and you know a student has lice, then somehow you have to say if you know you have lice, then you shouldn't be putting the helmet on and taking it off and letting the next guy wear it. I mean, it sounds like common sense, but then we look crazy when somebody comes and say, hey, you knew this student had lice, but you let them share the hats, or they're on the drama team and they're wearing whatever the costumes are. I think we don't want to overlook the fact that something has to be in the policy to say to address these common ways of transmitting. Because it does say 10% of transmission happens at schools. That's what it says on the.
That's you found your own statistic.
I Googled it. But this is the CDC site I'm on right now about these. They're saying, and they also said that it happens more amongst younger kids than it does older kids. So it's the same thing there. I don't know if they take naps anymore at school or lay on a pad or something. But I really think that it's not fair to parents to say, just be quiet, go away. It's a new policy. We know what we're doing. And so what if someone has lice? At least we should be ensuring that we're telling the students that they shouldn't be sharing brushes and combs and stuff with someone that has lice. You know what I mean? So, and I didn't see that in the new policy. It sounds as though we say that the chances of transmission is so minor that even if a person has lice, they get to come back to school and they get conduct themselves without any type of boundaries whatsoever. I just think some of the obvious things should be listed as cautions that you take if a person has lice. Either the cautions for the person that knows they have lice, or the cautions for the people that are going to interact with the people that have lice. I think we make a big mistake if we don't address those concerns that our parents are going to have.
And I think if you look at the pamphlet, we do have those other components of making sure that you're washing all the bedding and the stuffed animals and the hats and things. So that part is in the pamphlet for the parent education component.
Does it say don't share hats and don't share combs?
I think that's in the backside ongoing treatment.
I didn't see that anywhere in here.
What we can do too, Mr. Tillman, is work with family engagement to prepare a presentation that we can provide at different school sites, and also provide to the schools so that they can share it at any parent meeting or through their school site council, ELAC, et cetera. So we can do that as well.
So the biggest change in our policy is that in the past, we should send students home, right?
There's a couple of big things. One is the class-wide screenings that we're not doing, and the students would go home and stay home until treatment was done. And if I can keep adding ands, I apologize. The fact that we're providing the treatment resources so that that is not a barrier. Those treatment resources are not, $2. And I know that it can impact a family to provide those. So if we can provide those resources to them, or an avenue to get those resources either through Hazel Health or through IEHP, so we can start triaging that. There is a component of the board policy about chronic cases, which are the cases where they're kind of ongoing. Either I've had it multiple times within a few months, or I've had it ongoing for several weeks, and that we would triage some support for them. We do have a few social workers in our office that can help connect families to additional resources beyond what we sort of offer to all schools to connect families to.
And that one sounded kind of weird to me too when I read it, because it said chronic is like 6 weeks. I mean, you're going to sit behind somebody for 6 weeks that has.
So it takes a while to get rid of lice even after you've used the treatment. So there's the process to kind of comb it out of your hair, because they're living really close to your scalp. So depending on how thick your hair is, it can be harder to get them out. Does that make sense? So the treatment isn't, I got identified today, my parent comes to pick me up, I get the shampoo, and tomorrow I'm free and clear. It is a process to remove those.
I just think we need to do more in terms of education, and then I think we need to have some guidelines that if a person does, that you don't share certain items, and that has to be clear. My worst case scenario is we put this policy in place, and then we have actions at the site where we're handing out combs that people are using, or hats or clothing in some type of scenario where they're in drama or something, and
shared hats and things.
And it says in here that you shouldn't do it. So to me, there has to be something in place that during that period, if there's something in the school day where you're going to be doing those things, then that person won't do it.
That makes sense. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I just want to add, first of all, thank you so much for coming back with this item. And I know that it went through, so it's not a policy that is pending. It's a policy that's already been adopted and it's in place. The subcommittee did meet, and we scrutinized it actually pretty deeply as well. A lot of the questions that you're asking, we asked. We had very similar concerns. And ultimately, we gave our recommendations, those things were changed, and then it was brought back to the board for approval. But I definitely understand Mr. Tillman's point, and I think, going back to Ms. Grande's point as well, I think that there is a lot of education that really needs to go behind this. One of the things that, and I understand, the concern, but like, as you've said, this is not something that you take a pill and then, the next day or within 2 days, you can return back to school. So I do still continue to support the policy in the sense that we don't want to have kids for extended periods of time outside of the school. And especially if it's an issue where it's a chronic thing, making sure that we are providing, the services and supports. And I know that one of the things that I had asked during that meeting that we had was, we also don't want to hand them off to a third party agency and not. We want to really make sure, and I know that I emphasized that at the meeting, let's make sure that we do a warm handoff to whatever organization that they're going to get those resources from. Make sure that we're following up or making that connection. Another thing that I was pleased about in the policy is that although we're not doing universal screenings for the whole class, it does not prohibit us from still sending those students to the health aide or to the for them to be screened and then connected to the resources. So I think that there are some great things in the policy, but I do want to make sure that I do recognize some of the additional concerns that have come up. And I think education, really making sure that we're, on that across the district is going to be really important as well. Ms. Medina?
Oh, yes, and I want to ditto that we were very concerned and we pushed back a lot when we met regarding the policy. And now that I'm hearing Mr. Tillman, I mean, there's opportunities to also include additional language where we can ensure, just making sure that there's a big education portion. And it's also looking at, there has to be a way without pushing it, but still insisting parents take responsibilities or families take responsibilities in doing the treatment, because we don't want it to spread either way. But definitely education has to be a huge portion of it. I'm trying to still figure out the language. What would that look like if we do add additional language pertaining to students who are returning to school, and making sure that although we do it in a way that's confidential, just checking on them and then still having conversations with parents so that way it's consistent. At the end of the day, if we see like those chronic cases where students are not improving, the parents are responsible. I mean, there has to be some way. And then with regards to sports, maybe there might be additional language that pertains to activities where students gather, that if there is one without violating the confidentiality of it, maybe just informing the students and the families that, we should be mindful of, you shouldn't be wearing this or something like that. I don't know.
So if you could allow us some time to create a communication plan as well as a parent education framework, so to speak, and then we'll share that with you and on the Friday update to let you know how we will roll this out to the families so that everyone is well informed. And then if there's any additional questions, how we might go about communicating with parents. So please allow us that opportunity. We'd be happy to do that.
Ms. Grande?
Okay, but I will tell you, the number one person you have to convince of all of this really is going to be our LVNs, because they were the ones that would immediately ask to send that student home at Anderson. And we had 2 nurses, and it was like within the hour they were picked up. So that they're going to have to be the first one, and then everyone else will fall in, because they were adamant, and also to sterilize a wheelchair and all of that. So goes. So good luck on that.
I appreciate that opportunity. The LVNs work directly with us, and so do the school nurses and health aides, so that those staff members that create the health office at schools work directly with us. So we have opportunities to train them and support them in understanding. And I think if we go to their reactions, their reactions are based on that misinformation and that fear, right? That, oh my God, they're hopping all over the place. And so how do we help support them understand that this research has been around since 2009, 2015. Some of this new research is dated, and our policy hadn't been touched since 2007, I think, if I recall correctly. And so updating with the new research and guidance is helpful to us to be inclusive to our students. So we're trying to address their needs, right? And get them the support that they need, but also make sure that there's no learning loss for those students, or even social loss, right? Because if I'm missing school, if we repeat Dr. Vaikendova, if I'm missing school, I'm missing out on those personal connections as well.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman.
I just got to say, the thing that is missing is talking specifically about when a student that has lice is limited. It almost sounds like in this policy that there's never a head-to-head contact at school. I mean, if you're on a wrestling team, you right there, and that's what my fear is. For if I have a kid that I know has lice, and then the coach let him wrestle, and no one says anything to him, and then because of the wrestling, a kid gets infected, I'm gonna have parents upset, and they should be upset, because the policy is great, but if you know, you just said the scenario. So someone suspects lice, the teacher calls them confidentially aside, says, yeah, you do have lice, but then they should say, okay, you got wrestling or you got drama and you're going to be doing the costumes, so you can't do that.
So we definitely can consider, I think, those educational pieces, and then the places where you think head-to-head contact is happening, whether we're
Exactly.
talking about sports or
Yes,
drama or
yes.
some of those pieces,
Yes.
and add in a layer there.
Thank you. That's
Happy
the part.
to do so.
I'm not talking about the education part, but that part you just talked about, that's the part that's critical. Because I get killed when I overlook that, and then I have a student that contracts lice, and it was obvious that we could have did something real simple to avoid it.
And I'm just going to add this one detail is oftentimes students have lice developing for over 30 days, right? Because they have eggs and such that hatch. So if I was in head-to-head contact with somebody, what the scenarios are that we see right now, I was in head-to-head contact with somebody today, and then tomorrow I have lice, that head-to-head contact probably didn't lead to that lice case because there's an incubation period.
I agree.
But I think people equate those things together because, ooh, I heard the person I wrestled
I'm
has
talking about
lice.
her. I'm talking about dealing with facts. Because when I respond to parents, I call the superintendent, he gives me the facts. What I don't want to do is have a parent say, my child was with this child, they have lice, and you guys knew the child had lice, and you allowed them to participate in this activity that was obviously had the great potential to spread it. I want to be able to say, no, I checked with the superintendent, they didn't know the child had lice, or yes, the child had lice, and they weren't supposed to participate because we told him or her that they had lice, so they shouldn't have been sharing the helmets, and they shouldn't have been in the beauty class sharing the combs, or they shouldn't have been doing the TikTok where they were all lying down, create the star with their heads touching each other. When we assume that those things don't happen, we make a big mistake. It's easy to say because you have it, you can't, even just say it's clear, you can't do head-to-head contact.
I think there's an educational component for everyone to add there about transmission and how you get it. And we know that kids may pop on someone else's baseball hat or something. And so providing education to the students as well.
Thank you, Mr.
Sure.
Tillman. We will take that in consideration, and we will put that into a plan and provide it to the board.
Thank you so much. And I just do want to make one final comment around that. As you go back and, kind of rethink some of this, making sure that we are not penalizing, thinking of all students all around, right? So Ms. Medina said something along the lines of, parents need to be responsible. Sometimes, the most poor students are having to live in a multifamily home, and they may not be the ones who are affected by lice. It may be the family that they are living with. So really making sure that we're keeping all students in mind as we kind of go back and, think of these things. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All righty. Moving on to 9.0 board discussion. 9.1 Young Visionaries Mayor's Masquerade Ball 2025. And this item was brought by Dr. Wyatt, so I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Madam President. No, just wanted to review an event that's coming up for Young Visionaries, their Mayor Masquerade Ball. They do honor mayors, and already last year, Mayor Tran was recognized and will be there again this year to recognize the new mayors. Obviously, we do a lot of work with Young Visionaries, and they do a lot of work with us, supporting our kids. I know there was a concern that Ms. Rosales Medina brought to my attention I thought worth discussing. I was going to look for a particular, what is that we call it now? support for the event. But before that, I asked that, I think there's a discussion that needs to be had first, so.
All righty, so Ms. Medina?
Yes, thank you. And I know that they have done great work with our district. I believe I'm looking at their, they received 164,000 for 2020, March 2023 to June 2023, and then an additional 250,000 to extend it. So I'm curious with the policy, and I have to review the policy again. Is this just, so when we sponsor events, are these for events that don't receive money from our school district already? Or is this for anything that pertains to providing education? I don't know, I'm trying to.
So I don't believe the board policy necessarily differentiates.
Doesn't differentiate that?
No.
Okay, because then typically we've approved sponsorship for programs that they don't receive funds from our school district. In this case, they do. In like I mentioned, 165,000 and then 250,000. Maybe this was last year. Maybe they're not receiving additional funds. So
just to clarify, when you say additional funds, you mean like they have a contract with the district?
Additional, yeah. So they have a
Okay.
contract with the school district. And so for us to support in sponsorship, typically we support those that are providing services for our students that doesn't cost the district, that we support in. In this case, they do receive a lot of funds from our school district already. Maybe, so I don't know. I'm a little weary of, giving additional funds to an organization that already receives funds. But, maybe we can do individual tickets versus in a large amount. That might be something that we can do. Oh, I was looking through the agenda. You can actually look. It is, let me see here. It was back in, trying to see when it was approved, but it was approved on the agenda. And so no, last fiscal year. So I'm wondering if they currently receive, maybe they don't, this fiscal year.
So at this time, Young Visionaries does not have a contract with PYD. They did last year.
Okay.
We had been working with them on a new proposal to adjust the cost because we were going to reduce the number of schools. We have not yet received a proposal back from them, and so at this point in time, we do not have a contract.
Oh, okay, so then that's another clarifying question.
Ms., are you done? Ms. Grande?
I remember I had that same issue when I was doing something just recently, and I got the, I think Karen sent me our board policy, and then it was really clear and really helpful. And it said, it actually had something to do with that they do something directly with us, and that they are not, they don't use the word partnership or anything, but that they have. And so I was able to list all the things that Cal State has done, was Upward Bound. So they have some actual hand-to-hand kind of connection with our students besides scholarships and things. And so it's not wrong to just put it up and discuss it, and let's investigate it a little more.
And I guess I'm referring to, like, for instance, those ones like up at the university. We're not giving them money already. So this is I think this might be a different category.
I think it's worth checking out still a little bit more. I mean, it's still a ways off.
Mr. Tillman?
Sponsorship are they asking for?
I believe there's multiple levels.
Yeah, and Mr. Tillman, there's different levels. There's a UPC code there, or whatever, QR code that you could look at. And they have all the way from individual tickets to a platinum sponsor of 20,000, 3,000.
Did we sponsor them last year?
I don't think we've ever sponsored them. And I'll wait until my additional comments, but there's a range of sponsorship.
Are you done, Mr. Tillman?
No, the event's on the 16th, so if we bring it back, that's fine. I think we should, I know Terrence's organization has done a lot for the district throughout the year, so I wouldn't have a problem doing like a $3,000 sponsorship.
But they've been paid to help us, so.
No, I'm just saying in general, he has all kind of stuff, whether it's backpack giveaways, bikes. They do all kind of stuff in the community for kids, not through the district, but just doing it. So I would suggest that we do some type of sponsorship. Even his stuff that he did with the homeless youth for years and years, and he does a lot of stuff. So, but I'll wait. If you guys want to wait and bring it back, it's up to you guys.
Dr. Wyatt?
Thank you, Madam President. And, part of it was to definitely have a discussion, right? Because I think the policy is to bring it for discussion first before we take action. So I'm glad that we're vetting this and doing that. I do have concerns, though, because I know that we've probably sponsored organizations in the past that have had contracts with this, probably even organizations that were initially started by folks that were on this board previously that we've done. So I think we need to be very careful with that and consistent. If we're going to have such decision-making processes, and if we have to amend our policy, we need to do that. Because I'm confident that we've done that in the past with people that have contracted with us, been paid for services, and then sponsor them. With that being said, I do agree with Board Member Tillman. Young Visionary Youth Leadership Academy has done tremendous amount of work, not paid for what they do in regards to back to school, Thanksgiving turkey giveaway, Halloween festival, winter festival, shoe giveaway. I mean, we could go on and on. There's probably about 8 events they do throughout the year that is not funded by the district, but actually through their organization. And just in that alone, let alone the work they do with our students, which I think is significant as well, is worthy of us having that discussion. I would obviously have to yield to the board because I am a member on their executive board. So I would not be able to vote. I would have to abstain. I want to make sure that's clear.
Sorry, my comments. I think I would agree in the sense of the consistency part, making sure that we're not holding one group to a higher standard than we have another group in the past, and if that's a direction that we want to move in the future toward, definitely something to consider, and the board can bring that back in the policy. I would actually support what we've done in the past for other organizations, which is the 5,000 sponsorship. I would be okay and ready to make a motion now if the board wants to do that, but I would also be okay with moving it and bringing it back if that's okay. So so let me go ahead and just go through this once again. Who is up? Ms. Grande? Let me just go through it. Ms. Medina?
Yeah, and if you're okay with that, but I just want to make sure, because I know we updated the policy, and I was trying to look for the policy, and I could not find it in here because I wanted to also reference it, just to be exact, because I know we wanted to make sure that we were, like you said, be consistent across the board, but at the same time, when I see like they're charging for parking, I mean, all these other things, I just want to make sure that with anything, any organization, that it's we're being mindful of and this is like the mayor's masquerade versus educators, which at the same time this money will probably come back to our kids. I just want to be mindful of what the policy looks like, but if you make a motion, I'm sure it will pass.
Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and bring it back. So we'll table it just so that if you can go ahead and send us all the policy again, Karen, and then we'll bring it back on the next agenda item. Yes, great discussion. Thank you so much. Alrighty, we'll go on to 9.2, San Bernardino Symphony's Annual America, the beautiful concert and fireworks. And this was, so let's see, the board will discuss a possible sponsorship with the San Bernardino Symphony for their annual America, the beautiful event on Saturday, July 5th, 2025 at the San Bernardino Valley College football field. It looks like last year we had Dr. Wyatt shared info on the Symphony's 4th of July event that you had attended, and so this was brought back this year. Did you want to
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I guess I'm the popular guy with this night. And but no, I did bring this back last year just because I attended the event and we paid for our own tickets. So I'll make sure I clarify that. However, it was, I thought, a very affordable event for our students and their families to go to, and I thought it could be a tremendous incentive for our kids. I know we even talked about being a potential attendance incentive or part of PBIS to where our kids and their families could attend. And you know, my part of my goal also was to, one, support the symphony because I think they do an amazing job, again, with our students and our community, but also to build tradition in our city and to help support our city. So I think this is a win on many different levels. I don't think they have any particular sponsorship, not as of yet. I know I did talk to some folks over there on, you know, can we develop something like that? So, but really the whole idea was to be able to send kids and families to the event as an incentive and definitely to get more involved in our city. And again, on this particular organization, last year when I brought this up, I was not involved, but now I am on their executive board as well. So I'd have to, again, abstain.
Can I make a suggestion? If you're on the board, then the thing would do would be to ask a different board member to present it, and then you, when it comes up, you recuse yourself. That's the best way to do it. So let's bring this one up next. When we do it next time, you step out the room.
We're pulling it and bringing it back?
I think we should, yeah,
Okay.
because that's what recusal is.
Okay. All right, so we're pulling it again and bringing it back. All right. 10.0 action items. 10.1 personnel report.
As presented.
So moved.
I get a second? Oh. Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Mr. Santos. Vote, please.
I'm not sure why that's not up, but everybody.
Motion passed. All righty. 10.2 approval of the annual audited financial report for fiscal year 23-24.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Dr. Wyatt. Vote, please. Motion passed. 10.3 approval of the second interim financial report as of January 31st, 2025.
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Ms. Medina.
Ms. Grande?
Motion passed. 10.4 approval to name the Welcoming Resource Center, and we do have a public comment. So I'm going to call Ms. Devonna Robertson up. You're up next. Thank you so much for your patience with us.
What's that?
There we go. Good evening, everyone. I'm tired and I didn't plan on being at the board this long. And I'm still in a Zoom meeting as well. But I just wanted to come before you because you might see me here for a lot of reasons at any given time. But just like I can come and share some of my concerns, I can come as well to celebrate. And so I see that there'll be some decisions made about the building in the back. And I was reminded that it was a long time ago, much longer than I realized, that we started this process. And I think Abigail and Tillman were the only board members. Wyatt was a board member when we started this conversation. You guys remember us coming before you as parents, advocating? I remember Tillman, you were talking about it wasn't enough restrooms on 2nd Street, if that's where we were going to go and why that was important, right? You remember that? I remember also that there was a little, bit of chuckling at some of the things that parents requested, but here we are, almost to the ribbon cutting ceremony. And so I just want to celebrate you all for making, in advance, an amazing decision to name the center an appropriate name, and also to honor the parents as well as the district folks and community members who were a part of the process. And so that's what my public comment was about this evening. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Ms. Medina?
Thank you so much for bringing this forward, and it has been a long time coming, and I do appreciate that we're finally here. I'm not sure if you can maybe give a context for those that might be listening and looking at the name, which is is it Paxum? Pacum? And then maybe just give what that means.
I was just recently told what that means, so I don't want to misspeak.
If someone can speak on it.
Welcome.
Welcome. And that's in the native language.
Welcome.
And Kuya language. Okay, just so that way we can give folks a context of where it's coming from.
Yeah, so apparently almost 8 years ago, or even more than 8 years at this point. That's what I was told. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but some of the parent leaders from the parent boards in the district were concerned about the amount of all over the city you had to do to get your child enrolled or to get all of the things that you needed for your child to be sufficient to start school, whether they were new to the district as in being an older child, or if they were entering for the first time into the public education system here in the city of San Bernardino. And we just wanted to create a place that was centralized and that was welcoming and receiving, and that we were being thoughtful about what it took for our families to get their children enrolled in school, but also all the things that they needed. So often this school district might get a lot of flack for not providing resources, but reality is we have a lot of resources that are available to our families and we don't know. And if you catch the wrong person on the right day, you might be really frustrated when you're trying to seek out a resource that is actually available to our families, right? So we wanted to create a place that was localized and really centered with the family's perspective, taking in consideration what a family has to go through, the time that it takes. I know some school sites you can enroll your child at the school site, but if you needed other things, you had to go all over the city, right? Or at least that's what it felt like. And we wanted a place that felt welcoming. Dr. Volkamore and some other folks, including that gentleman sitting in the back there, had a lot of early meetings with us here upstairs, walking us through processes that we as parents did not understand, right? And so we stepped back there and talked some more while you all were in closed session about what the space is going to be very soon, and just really excited that we went through the process with you all. And I know that some folks felt like, why spend all that money, right? But why not? If it's a place that makes our families feel like they're stepping into a district that sees them and values them and believes in having a space that is reflective of our community. And I remember Dr. Volkamore walked us through vision and activities, and we were talking about having laundromats and Starbucks in this place. I mean, they gave us permission to dream as big as we wanted to dream, and parents were asking for a lot of things, and some people thought it was funny, but I can guarantee you some of those parents had not been ever given permission to dream as big as they wanted to dream about something that would impact their students, but other families that they cared about as well. And so I'm sure I'm leaving something out. But I just wanted to make sure I said thank you, because I appreciate it as one of the parents who were part of that process. Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Wyatt?
I definitely want to say thank you to you as well. I know when I pulled up this afternoon, I think I was the first board member here, but I saw you in your car, and you were doing the meeting, it looked like in your car too. So, and then you hung around this whole dang time. So it's just a little piece of your dedication, just what you even did tonight, to wait till this long to be able to say thank you. But I want to say thank you to you as well as the other parents. 'Cause I remember when we went down 2nd Street, and I did not want us to go down there. I said, no, I don't want to go down there. We still went down there, and we got out of there real quick. So I'm looking forward to this welcome center, as we would call it. And I don't want to take a shot at that. Yeah, because I want to pronounce it with pride and pronounce it right. But I think when our community, our families, our students, and our staff see this facility, they're going to know, one, we listen to you, and two, we care about the city, and we want to invest into our people here, period. Just like the Dr. Margaret Hill Community Center here at the boardroom. It's amazing. I can't wait to go look at that building. And I hope when our families do go there, they're able to get every resource possible, because that was the intent of that building, but also to feel a sense of pride when they walk in and walk out of there. So thank you.
Again, thank you so much for waiting for us this long.
Yeah, and I want to say too, I did not even know it was on the agenda. And so once I found out it was on the agenda, I was like, well, I guess I'm staying. And to know that it represents the diversity of the city of San Bernardino. So even some of the statues that will be out there, I think is going to speak volumes to who we are. And the fact that we're naming it in a native tongue is powerful, especially with this current climate. I feel like we 10 toes down. We're about the people in this city, irregardless of what else is going on in America. So I appreciate that, and just wanted to express that.
Mr. Tillman?
Years you been coming to the district?
A long time.
How many years?
How many years?
Yeah.
I think I officially came to my first board meeting as a parent when maybe about 2013. Yeah.
12 years. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Alrighty, again, approval to name the Welcoming Resource Center.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Dr. Wyatt. Discussion, vote please. Motion passed. 10.5, consideration and approval of the amendment to employment contract superintendent San Bernardino City Unified School District. Let's see.
Moved.
No,
Second.
not yet. Hold on. I need to amend it real quick. So currently, sorry. Should have had my notes up. So the item posted on the agenda for approval of an amendment to the superintendent contract states that the amendment extends the term of the superintendent's contract by 1 year. However, the contemplated amendment being considered for tonight is an extension of 2 years until June 30th, 2028. So I would like to entertain a motion to amend the agenda item to approve the amendment to the contract for the extension of 2 years.
You said at the same time.
Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Ms. Grande. Vote please.
You know how fast I am. It's not a secret. Oh, sorry.
Motion passed. 11.0, consent items. 11.1, approval of consent list.
Moved. Second.
Moved by Dr. Wyatt, second by Mr. Tillman. Any items to pull? All right, vote please. Motion passed. 12.0, reports, comments by union organizations. 12.1, San Bernardino Teachers Association.
No report.
12.2, California School Employees Association.
No report.
12.3, Communication Workers of America.
No report.
12.4, San Bernardino School Police Officers Association.
And no report.
13.0, reports and comments by board members. 13.1, board members, and I'll go ahead and start with Ms. Grande.
Oh, caught me off guard. Okay, I had a really full week last week. Thank you to Chief Paulino for inviting me out to view his Southern California Chapter Achievers Award, or Noble. I'm not sure what does it stand for. He was the star of the show, and because he was the most important one, he was the very last one to receive his award. So it kept pretty much all 500 of us there. It was pretty tough night. It was wonderful, beautiful, sat to some next to some amazing and inspirational people. And congratulations again. And I'm proud to have given an opportunity for us to shine recently. Tom Pace and his crew went out and presented the facilities report. Remember that stunning program we had up here? And he was really proud to share that with the Democratic Club Luncheon Club on Friday. And he doesn't know it yet, but I'm also going to take him to Rotary and to Kiwanis Club. I can't help it. I'm bursting with pride. What can I say? All right. And then again, our superintendent, of course, was there. And then I think was another board member. Did I bring somebody else? Was someone? Anyway, so it was a beautiful, beautiful day. And then career day at Salinas, and you'll be happy to know that I really promoted the career of teaching. And I said board member was just the cherry on top. And I got to go around the Salinas with, they partnered me with Gwen Rogers, you might know her. And we went around, and she absolutely killed it. She was just wonderful, and she really engaged with the students. They loved her. That was until I pulled out my puppet, and then I won. So it was great. And I'm sure out there I've just convinced a lot of children that I told them, I said, something you're never going to hear about teaching is it's really fun. And another thing you're never going to hear about college, going to college, and I don't think anybody wants you to know that it's really fun. They don't want you to know because then they're afraid you're just going to go just to have fun. And that's how they get you. It's just a wonderful place to be. So I'm hoping that made a difference in somebody's life. And it really was an enriching experience. I want to thank Salinas for being so great with me too. That's it. Thank you.
Dr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Madam President, and I do have a few items because it's been a busy 2 weeks. So I'll go as quickly as possible. Very fortunate to attend the Valley College ribbon cutting for their new CT Transportation Innovation Facility with President Ceballos in the rain. It was really nice. And then right after that, we flew over to ICUC, a town hall meeting with them, which I think was a very important meeting because we wanted to discuss their concerns with our newcomer and immigrant community members and families, parents and students, and to let them know that our district is a safe district, and we're going to ensure that their children and their families are going to be protected when they're in our schools, and we're going to do our best to make sure that they don't have to worry about that. So when they come to school confident, feeling that's a safe place. And then after that, went to our Capital Region 5 meet and greet, which was nice, hosted by Dr. Sharon Nakama, and continue to build our footprint in our region for San Bernardino Unified School District for our API students and families. Then building on that, was able to attend by phone virtually our PIA meeting with Ms. Blackshear and our EDSA folks, and that group is actually growing significantly. We had a huge turnout at the last meeting, so thank you to them, as well as we did highlight and honor our parents that were on the parent panel recently up in San Jose. So great job to all of them, and Kimberly Sargent, who came and presented on LCAP. She does that quite frequently, and to teach our families more about LCAP. Also attended the RIMS Avid Write-Off Awards ceremony, which was last week, and out of the 9 grade levels, San Bernardino City Unified School District had 4 of them, top winners out of 9. And if you don't know what RIMS means, that means Riverside, Inyo, Mono, and San Bernardino County. So we're talking about 4 different counties. That's a lot of schools, a lot of school districts, and out of those, San Bernardino City had 4 out of 9. Pretty proud moment right there. Yeah, it is a big wow, actually. Big wow, good job. And then, thank you. We also attended Summits on Friday evening. President Ceballos and Board Member Rosales Medina to the Cabe Casa Champion Latino Student Event. Awesome event and really nice venue, by the way. Unfortunately, it's over in Riverside County. You know, I don't mind going there, but rather it be here. But again, excellent event, and I think we should need some of our staff up there next year being recognized. But again, thank you for the invite for that. Also attend Alexander Madison's I Am Gifted Foundation Wellness event. That was a first for his foundation, as well as this petting zoo ranch, I'll call it. And I know Dr. Rodriguez was there. I didn't get to see you very long, but I saw a glimpse of you. And I thought that was a really nice event, and maybe something that we can also utilize for our students when we're promoting wellness. And also an idea maybe to have something like that here. And then attended this weekend the Filipino American Association, San Bernardino County. They did a grand reopening of their chapter in their facility, which was nice. And again, wanting to represent there and then get our students, our Filipino and API students, give them access to scholarships that they have to. So that was a part of that goal. And then ended with the Acts of Legislative Week. It's actually happening right now. And I was fortunate to participate on their Legislative Policy Committee at the state level, reviewing the bills that we are hopefully going to approve in the near future. And that is it, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santos.
Thank you. You know, as I get to be around this wonderful school district and go to different events, and I see how we have great staff, great team. The district itself is wonderful, and the energy in it. You know, a few weeks ago, I participated in or got to attend the Richardson APAC Awards. Last week, I did the Latino History Bee. One of the questions was first Latina principal, Dr. Rodriguez, at in the district. So that was pretty cool to learn. So again, just getting to know the district, getting to do things, and trying to get out more. So that has been a wonderful thing. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Ms. Medina?
I guess I'm trying to figure out what to say, but I'm really excited to be part of this district and the position that we're at right now. We're working well together, and when things go well, there's not. I mean, for me personally, there's not much you can say and negative. And looking around what other districts are doing, I'm really proud of where we're at right now.
On Board President Ceballos, we did celebrate Ms. Rosales Medina's birthday as well that evening. So happy birthday to Ms. Rosales Medina again.
Thank you.
That is true. That is true. It was nice, and you left early. Let me just say, that's all I'll say. You guys are awesome. So just really quickly, I won't mention the events that Dr. Wyatt has already mentioned that we attended, but really, really happy to have been there with my colleagues. But I do want to mention Miss Marlene, and I'm going to butcher her name, B-U-S-C-H. Bush. Okay, Bush. That was easy. VP from Davidson Elementary for having reached out to me regarding their Read Across America. I got an email invite, and thankfully I was able to attend. That same day actually was the DLAC meeting here at the Board of Ed, which I also was able to attend. So I came to the DLAC meeting, and then I took a little pause, ran over to the school side, read a book that I had actually recently bought called Spanish is My Superpower, and I think that they absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed reading it to them, and they were very active. They were participating. They were, engaging with me. It was really, really nice, and I think it was a class of 4th graders, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you so much for the invite over to Davidson Elementary. I really appreciated the opportunity. Also, again, I just want to thank. I want to thank Mr. Castro, which is the assistant coach of the JV soccer women's team over at Sanji, for also inviting me. Last night they had their end of season celebration where they were, getting recognized and receiving, some little, trophies or certificates or what have you. And then also got to meet the coaches, the varsity and junior varsity coaches there as well. And yeah, just great, environment. I was really glad. Got to meet some great parents, students as well. So really enjoyed that. And then can't thank enough, again, Mr. Komnick and Miss Huey, again, for just taking the time and meeting with me and just going over, information on the budget. As much as it's my time, it's also your guys' time. So I really appreciate you taking the time and really just sitting down with me and bringing it down to a level that I can really understand, comprehend, digest, and all the questions that I'm, throwing at you guys. On that same note, I also really want to thank Miss Kimber for doing the same thing for me with the LCAP. She took, a couple of hours earlier this week with me, and we just sat down and kind of digested it. And again, I'm really appreciative because I'm always wanting to and willing to learn. And I have to remember to be patient with myself and be graceful with myself because it's just so much information that I just wish I just knew. And as they so graciously remind me, they sometimes struggle with the information and they do it, day in and day out. It's just so much, right? So again, thank you so much. And lastly, I just want to say I am on a roll taking the Master's in Governance courses. I think I've taken 3 so far in less than 2 months, I think. So thank you so much, Karen, for getting me, next one. I started those courses when I first got elected over COVID, when we were in COVID, but I really don't do well with distance learning. I'm an in-person kind of person. So I've been attending those and they are just really, really, really great. If you haven't taken them, I highly encourage you to. I do wish that I would have taken those, earlier. But I tried and it just wasn't I tried virtually then and it just didn't work. But anyway, again, happy birthday to Miss Medina. I really enjoyed hanging out with you and Angie, and then also Chief Paulino. Again, congratulations on your award. And moving on to 13.2, Superintendent and staff.
Thank you, President Ceballos. Happy 21 birthday all over again, right? Felicidades. Well, I want to start off by just thanking the board for the extension of my contract. I'm just very honored and I'm very humbled. It's an honor to work with all of you. It's an honor to work with my cabinet team. I'm humbled by your confidence, not only in me, but in our team. Just know I love my job. I love our staff. I love our scholars and I love our community. And I've said this over and over again. I never thought I'd ever get the chance to be the superintendent in the district I grew up in, and so it's a dream come true. So thank you for believing in me, and together as we're making some good strides. So thank you all very much for your vote of confidence tonight. I want to give you a little update on the Bridge Committee. Billy Gallardo, who is the interim city manager, is a San Bernardino homegrown. He and I actually played Little League Baseball together at the 7th and Waterman, so it's been a nice reconnection. There's been some confusion, I believe, on the city side as to what the Bridge Committee was. They were confusing it with what was once the Ed Coalition meeting, which was the president of CSUSB, the president of Allen College, and the superintendent meeting with the mayor. So, Scott, thank you for helping me with clarification. So I was able to explain to Billy that what this was is 3 council members and 3 school board members with the superintendent and the mayor invited, but the opportunity to have discussions about where things would overlap. And so Billy understood the clarification. So where we are at now is I let him know that we already have our 3 committee members and the alternate ready to go. So he's going to go back, work with the mayor, work with the city so they can identify who their 3 members are going to be. And our hope is to schedule our initial bridge committee meeting in the next month so that we can figure out protocols, objectives, and then set a calendar moving forward. So I'll get you some more information as Mr. Gallardo reaches out to me. And if we can start, we're already up there. So I too want to give Kimber a big shout out. The showcase that she put together with her colleagues in Ed Services, with our colleagues in our other departments, Student Services, HR, police. I mean, it was a great event on a rainy day. Hundreds of parents there really getting to learn about all the services that we provide. And just Kimber, again, she just does a great job of explaining something so complex in such a simple way. So I just wanted to publicly thank Kimber and, of course, all her colleagues in Ed Services. It was a great, great event, so thank you for that. Next slide, please. And I, too, want to give a shout-out to Cole Elementary and Vermont Elementary for inviting me to come out on Read Across America Day. I think I can say that those are truly my favorite days of the year, is being back in there with the kids, reading a story, getting them to laugh, getting them to scream. As you can see, I'm probably having more fun than they are at this point, but I just wanted to thank all of our school sites for inviting all of us, and I appreciate all of you that have had the opportunity and make the time. The kids really love seeing the adults, right? And it's so funny because they always ask me, "Are you the president?" That's always their question. "Are you the president?" So anyway, thank you to Cole Elementary in Vermont. Have a great time. And anybody else who wants to invite me, I'll be there. Next slide. As was mentioned, boy, that Latino history, this district is awesome. Between our Black History Bee, our Latino History Bee, what we do to celebrate and honor the different diversity in our district is just amazing. Mr. Acosta did a great job as the MC of the event, and I know Mr. Santos, Dr. Rodriguez, our DLAC president, Ms. Romero, were the judges. Beautiful event, and that was great to have one of the questions be, who was our first Latina high school principal in this district, and it was Dr. Rodriguez. So that was, I learned something new, so that was really cool. So thank you to Mrs. Alba, who I believe she was the brainchild of the idea. And Dr. Rodriguez was the principal at San Marino High School at that time. And so San Marino High School and Arrowview, I believe, were the first 2 that were involved in the History Bee. And here we are many years later with all of our schools being included. So really a great event. So thank you to Multilingual and everyone that was involved. And that was a super great event. Next slide. And wow, this past Saturday for the Literacy Festival event, you know how you picture something in your mind that you've never been to, then when you get there, it's so much bigger, so much grander? That's what happened this Saturday. Ed Services, and again, it's supported by all the other departments. What a massive, beautiful event at San Gorgonio High School, where not only did we able to showcase and give awards to kids for literacy and writing, but also the parents once again get to see all the different services. A lot of our community partners were there. So Anna, congratulations to you and your team, Amy, Suda. I don't know, I'm probably missing names, but thank you also to other departments who had a presence there. Great team effort, great way to bring the community together for something positive. What's being passed out to you is the booklet that's generated every year. This is just our student writing. And Anna had a great idea, which we're going to follow up with, we're actually going to show up at a city council meeting, and we're going to bring copies of these books to the city council members, to the mayor, because great things are happening here in San Bernardino, specifically here in our district. And they need to hear the writing of our kids, because they're saying great things are happening in San Bernardino. So great event, Anna. Good job. Great job. Next slide. We had our very first STEAM RoboPlay competition, meaning robotics competition, that Dr. Clyde has put together. He's done an amazing job, he and his team, to really start to build the STEAM program. And I want to thank the board. Thank you guys for supporting STEAM spreading across all of our school sites. Our kids are excited. They're learning a lot. And people are starting to recognize now the good work that Randy Clyde and his department is doing with all the different STEAM labs in the district. So as was mentioned, when we have a cohesive team, great things are happening, and you're starting to see it happen. So this was just so happy that within 1 year we had our first RoboPlay competition, and I'll have more about that here in a minute. No, as a matter of fact, the winning team, that's why the picture's there. The winning team are 4 females from Palm. And why that's important is because research has shown that over the years, young ladies didn't see themselves as being able to be in the fields of science, mathematics, and engineering. And so this is not only an equity issue for our female students, but this is a great way to open the door for our female students to start to believe the mindset that I can be an engineer, I can be a mathematician, I can be a science. So the impact that you guys are having and our kids already is just awesome. So good job to Dr. Clyde. Next slide. And I got to give Mary Ellen Grande big credit for this. And this is, again, when we work cohesively. She walked up to me a couple months ago and said, hey, I found this thing in another district for the CTE course guide, which we had one, but this district actually had a page where it showed where kids could go after high school to continue their education or to get further certification. And they named the schools: Valley College, Crafton Hills, Cal State, Chaffey. So immediately I spoke to Alan Kay, spoke to Chelsea. They put it together for us, and we now have that. So Marilyn, I just want to say thank you for the idea. I know we handed them out at the presentation on Friday, so thank you for bringing that great idea, and we wanted you to know that we responded immediately. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Next slide. And when we talk about just excitement that's being generated in our school district, we had the CTA president decided he wanted to come visit our schools last week. David Goldberg, so he went to Palm Elementary, and I believe he was also at San Andreas High School. He wanted to see our deaf and hard of hearing program, and he wanted to see all the great things going on in San Andreas. So 1,000 districts in the state of California. He's hearing energy happening here. He came here and wanted to see firsthand. So I want to thank Ashley for making that happen in our 2 schools. But we are shining, and people are hearing about it. So just thought it was good for the community to hear that someone as important as the CTA president, California Teachers Association, would come here to see our program. So thank you, Ashley, for arranging that. Next slide. I learned of something that I hadn't really thought of since 1983 when I was a junior at San Marino High School. In 1983, that was the 100th graduating class of San Marino High School. And there was a teacher there by the name of Brian Burke. I don't know, Mr. Tillman, if you had him as a history teacher, but he taught there for 40 years. As a matter of fact, he lived right across from Arrowview Elementary School, and he would walk to school every day. And he took on the task of putting together the Archive Museum in 1983 to be open to the public when they had the 100th celebration parade. So what was supposed to happen moving forward was that this museum of 100 years plus would continue to grow and be a showcase not only for the school, for this district, but for the city. Well, over the years, it kind of died, and I know when Dr. Rodriguez came as a principal, she tried to revive it and did a great job. And then years after Dr. Rodriguez, the principal that was there after had Haciel Calleros. As you know, he's a graduate of high school. He tried to put it all together, but it just kind of fell apart. When Tom Pace rebuilt that Cardinal Way, they actually built a space to make sure that this museum would be active. So we found out that it hadn't been. So I asked Terry and Tom Pace to see if we can get this together by June. And so they are working on that. So I'm proud to say that the Cardinal City Museum will be up and running by June. And we want this to be a tourist attraction, just like people come to the McDonald's Museum on E Street. I want them to come see a 150-year-old school and all of the great people and all the great accomplishments they have. So at some point, we'll invite the board when we're completed. So Terry's ordering all the glass cases. We have Laura Brewer, who just retired from our purchasing department, who was a 1984 graduate of San Marino High School, classmate of mine, who has agreed to be kind of the curator and put it all together for us. So great things happen at San Marino High School. So I want to thank Hazael for scheduling the lunch with me to talk about our desire to get that done. So
The charter as an actual city.
they still have a charter and they have a
actual
city, and
yeah.
the mayor of Cardinal City is elected
Police
every year.
department, everything.
Yep,
yeah.
yep. Next slide. Today I had the pleasure to be a part of and to contribute to the UC Davis C-STEM Symposium, which was done over in the San Marino County Schools building over in Rancho Cucamonga. And what you see there in the first two slides is our teachers from Palm Elementary talking about how they use C-STEM in the class to support English language arts. And then you see Dr. Clyde talking about the vision and plan that he's put together for the use of robotics and coding to enhance math achievement and math scores. And then there you see Dr. Chang with Ted Alejandre and Alfonso Jimenez, who's the superintendent of Hacienda La Puente. He and I have been involved in the C-STEM program. It's computer science to enhance math learning. And so what I'm proud to say is that next year, San Marino City Unified will be sponsoring the C-STEM Southern California Conference at Cal State San Bernardino. Today we had about, I think there was 200 teachers from all over Southern California. We're expecting 300 to 400 next year, but San Marino City Unified was in the house. We had about 30 teachers there, half of which were doing presentations. So again, great things happening here. We're taking the lead and our kids are benefiting it. So this is another example of the district shining. Next slide. And I want to end this with what I call this is a stunning picture. I love this picture of Elsie and Chief, but as was mentioned, Chief was honored by the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives this past weekend, and he won the prestigious Noble Award for his outstanding service as a sworn officer. So we are very fortunate to have somebody of his caliber work with our district and our schools and our students. So congratulations, sir. And I love this picture, man. I want you to frame this picture. This is a stunning picture, man. You guys look wonderful in this picture. But congratulations, Chief. It's been an honor working with you, and thank you for all you do for us. And that's all I have today. Thank you.
Awesome. Moving on to 14.0, summary of board members' requests. 14.1, review of requests, if any.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we only have one request, and it is from Board President Ceballos and Mr. Tillman, requested to table board discussion 9.1 and 9.2 for sponsorships, and requested that Karen sends the board policy for sponsorships to all board members. Mr. Tillman also recommended that any board member who is part of the executive board of an organization seeking sponsorship be excused from the room. And that is it for tonight. Thank you.
Great. 15.0, meeting adjournment. 15.1, in memoriam. So the board would like to recognize and close the board meeting with a moment of silence in memory of Margaret Peg Tracy, who passed away earlier this month. Peg served as a regional UniServe director for the California Teachers Association, assigned to the San Bernardino Teachers Association for 21 years. Her career as an educator spanned over 50 years in multiple states. Her vast knowledge of collective bargaining law and educational policy, along with her dry sense of humor, made her a fierce advocate and negotiator. Peg will be remembered fondly for her kindness, wit, and tenacity to defend the members of SBTA in public education. All right, 15.2, adjournment. Moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Dr. Wyatt.